Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'm just going to wait for you guys to tune in. Say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first time, definitely comment and let me know it's your first time so I can give you a shout out. Um, let's see. Am I connected on YouTube and Facebook? Okay, I think I'm. If you can see me on YouTube and Facebook, wave in the comment box so I know you're tuned in. Hi, Bunty. Um, Tootie Back says, I'm so excited to have an appointment with you. Awesome. I can't wait to talk to you. Kane, good morning. Brooklyn. My girl Tanya from Brooklyn, good morning. Sweet Satisfaction in Florida, good morning. Good morning, Cleopatra. On YouTube, Scarface, your first time, welcome. Where are you tuning in from? Mama Lewis, first time. The Real GB, first time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Maskirova says, huge fan of your work and it's my first time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Get them from Tampa, from Jamaica by way of Tampa, Florida. Welcome. Chaturi, welcome. Bridgeport, Connecticut. So many first timers today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Ayesha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer and I help clients with their immigration matters, family immigration, humanitarian-based cases. Location really doesn't matter. We help you regardless, as long as you're looking to, get a green card or U.S. citizenship here in the United States. Our main office is in Atlanta, Georgia. We've got an office in Florida as well. And our phone number here is 407-995-6567. If you want to send a WhatsApp message, you can also send that to 404-333-8751. All right. I'm going to be taking your questions this morning. So let's just jump right into it. If you have questions about immigration, please feel free to ask me your questions and I'll answer you. All of you on YouTube, good morning. I see you all. Carol, Tanya, Rochelle, Katie, Alicia, good morning to you all. Mr. Magsuba says, I-290B, what does that form mean? I received after a denied letter. So basically, I don't know what kind of case you filed, but typically when you file a case that is appealable, and your case gets denied, they'll basically tell you that you can appeal the decision in your case. It's just that you have to do the appeal by filling out that form I-290B and paying the filing fee. So that's what it means. It's just an appeals form. Katie says, good morning. How long does USCIS normally take after request for evidence was sent to field office to make a decision? Please and thank you. Every field office is really different. It depends also on your case, where you are in your case, what kind of RFE they're asking you. So it's really difficult to give you an answer, because everybody's different. Scarface says, I'm a huge fan. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, let's see what questions you guys have on. So many first timers. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sweet Satisfaction says, got married June 23rd, 2023. I wanted to know what the process is or my next step. My husband is a green card holder. Sweet Satisfaction, the process or next step will really depend on what part of the world you're in. Are you in the United States? Are you outside the country? Your process is going to look differently. If you're in the United States right now, the visa bulletin is just not making us very happy right now. And, some days have been pushed back. So it's not really helpful. The first thing we want to look at in a case like this is, if you're in the U.S., is when is your husband eligible for naturalization? And if he's eligible for naturalization soon, that'll be your best bet for him to naturalize and then file adjustment of status for you. Do I need to be married to apply for I-765 under VAWA? Alicia, your question is too broad. It depends. An I-765, for those of you who don't know, means a work permit. So if your question is do you need to apply, do you need to be married to apply for VAWA? You don't have to. It depends on what you're applying for VAWA, because with VAWA you can be eligible if you have an abusive parent that's a U.S. citizen or a green card holder and you're under 21 or between 21 to 24 and you're a lead applicant. And also if you are what did I say? If you're a child and your parents are U.S. Citizens or green card holders, you can also apply if you are a parent and you have a U.S. citizen child that's over the age of 21. When you're applying for VAWA and you're eligible for adjustment of status, you can apply for that work permit, which is that 765 that you mentioned, simultaneously. So it's difficult to answer your question without knowing what the basis of your VAWA is and what you're trying to basically ask. Someone says, good morning, my case was transferred 50 days ago. When do I receive a prima facie? Prima facie is received once they've reviewed your application. We don't really look from date of transfer. Most people will get it anywhere between like 3 to 5 months from application. So basically you will be within that window. Okay. Florida first timer. It's so hot. I heard it's so hot and humid in Florida right now. Emily says, after the I-360 is approved, does the I-485 processing time start from 0? Can it be approved quicker if an interview? So it doesn't start from 0 if you applied at the same time. So if you put in your application for your adjustment of status, which is your green card application, at the same time as you put your VAWA in, you kind of include it in the timeline. So what typically happens is once your VAWA is approved, then that approval is sent to and file is sent to your field office, and then the field office then decides whether or not they're going to bypass your interview and maybe request an updated medical or request a medical, or they're going to schedule for the interview. I want to say on average, the max we've seen is maybe 6 months from approval. Again, whenever I give you guys timelines, I don't want you to hold on and say, well, this is what you said. This is just what we've seen here, but there are no published timelines. But typically that's what we're seeing more of. Like by the 6-month mark, most people are getting an interview or request for their medical so that they can make a decision. This is from approval, unless there's something else going on with the case. Okay. I have a question. Can you still get approved after receiving an NOID for more bona fide evidence? For those of you, again, who don't know what an NOID is, an NOID just means a notice of intent to deny your application based on what you submitted. But the answer is you can absolutely still get approved. We get people approved many times with an NOID. In fact, to be honest, I don't even want to be known for that, but a lot of people that apply for their applications and get NOIDs come to us to fix the issue, But here's the thing: if you do it right the first time, or have like a competent attorney help you do it right the first time, you'll reduce the likelihood of you getting a notice of intent to deny, because we're able to identify an issue spot what the problems are with the application. But yeah, don't be discouraged. Hopefully you send some good evidence and you hopefully will get approved. Okay. Olive says, good morning. If you apply for VAWA, how long does a work permit and travel permit take? So if you apply for VAWA with an adjustment of status application and a work and travel permit, window is anywhere from like 4 to 9 months. Right now, we're seeing a lot of like 4.5 months, 5.5 months, 6.5 months, but really your window is really 4 to 9 months. After 9 months, then it's like, okay, USCIS, what's going on? I haven't heard anything. Then you want to do your inquiry at that point. Okay. Okay. I did my petition for my wife in December of 2021, and up till now, I haven't received anything from USCIS. What do I do? What petition did you do? But you want to definitely start thinking about congressional assistance, ombudsman assistance, a writ of mandamus, which is where you sue USCIS. But it depends on when you see if you've not received anything. Have you received a receipt? Have you what have you not received? Okay. So somebody's asking, I did my biometric for VAWA, how long to get a work permit? So I just answered this question. We really don't count from biometrics anymore because some people's biometrics are waived if they already have a recent biometric in the system. So we just count from a timeline of submission, which is like anywhere from 4 to 9 months. Okay. Good morning, Kelly Ann. Thank you for tuning in. Shaturi says, what are the questions they will ask for an I-485 interview after an I-360 approval? So a lot of the questions that they ask after your VAWA has been approved is they'll be going basically over your form I-485. And what you filled in that application. You know, they will be looking at your address history, when you got divorced, making sure you didn't remarry while your VAWA was pending. So those are some of the things that they'll be asking. So just basically know what you wrote in your I-485, no dates. You know, it's really, really important. I know for a lot of people, you know, especially when you've come out of a traumatic relationship, you want to block out certain things, but it's important to know marriage dates, divorce dates. You know, sometimes they'll ask you who do you currently live with, you know, etc. But it's not meant to be a rescreening of your VAWA, because in order for you to have an I-485, which is a green card interview after your VAWA case, it means that your VAWA case has been adjudicated and they've approved it. So this is not the time for an officer to start asking you questions about your VAWA case per se, because it's been approved. Yes, Adwa says, are they still doing interviews for green cards if it was filed from your spouse? Absolutely. They're still doing interviews. You know, there are some people that will get a bypass, and there are some people that will get an interview. You never really know what you fall or where you're going to fall. And one thing that I just want to mention to those who are getting interview bypasses, to be very careful. I'm seeing a lot of people that are getting interview bypass who are getting their so like they get approved before they've been married for 2 years, and then once they get their green card, it's like, me and my spouse are no longer together, or whatever it is. You got to remember that 2 years from the date of that approval, you have to be filing for removal of conditions in your green card, and you have to go through the same application process again. And so they're going to be looking at all of that. So you want to make sure that you continue to show that you're in a good faith marriage, because basically your journey is not over until it's over. Okay. I have kids in Nigeria that are in Nigeria. I'm a U.S. citizen. Do I file I-485 for them or N-400? So this is a really good question, but the answer is neither. Without knowing how old your children are, it's hard to basically give you an answer, but I'll give you a few scenarios. If you're a U.S. citizen and you became a U.S. citizen before your children were born, then that citizenship, you know, becomes their birthright, and they can do a registration of birth to a U.S. citizen right there in Nigeria, in the consulate, you know, in Lagos or Abuja. Well, Lagos, you know, tends to do this more, right? If they were not U.S. citizens or green card holders, if they were born, if your children were born before you became a U.S. citizen and they're not green card holders, what you have to file is an I-130. If your I-130 gets approved, then you move over to the National Visa Center, and that is when you file the immigrant visa application. And then that once you apply for that, they will then, and it gets documentarily qualified, then they will get in queue for a consulate interview. Once that's approved, they become green card holders. If they're under 18, then they can derive citizenship from you after they've had that green card. So that's the second scenario. What was the third scenario? So the third scenario is, of course, if they were here in the United States, then you can do the I-485 for them with the I-130. Again, all this also depends on the age of your children. Okay. I have a green card interview by the end of the month. What do you advise? Just, be truthful. Make sure you know what is in your I-485 form. Make sure there are no discrepancies. I don't know what your case is. I don't know if it's a marriage case or a VAWA case or employment. Like, I don't know what your green card interview is on the basis of, but that I-485, you want to make sure that you're consistent and that you can give the same information on there. You want to make sure that you dress well. You want to make sure that you go to your interview on time. I always say an interview is like a USCIS interview is like an interview for your life. You want to take it like a job interview. You want to go there in a respectable manner. You want to go there on time. You want to use yes ma'am, yes sir, and just never go above and beyond questions that you're asked. Like if they ask you a question, do not go off on a tangent. Just stick to the question and answer the question that you're asked, because sometimes you can weave yourself into Charlotte's Web. Okay. Someone says, please record the live. Oh, you mean save it? I will save it when I'm done. Okay. I received my prima facie this month. When should I expect my work permit? Congrats on receiving your prima facie. Again, I talked about this earlier. Anywhere from like 4 to 9 months is typically the average time, for work permits. I see a few questions asking that same thing about work permit. Hopefully you guys are all hearing this answer so that I don't have to say that one again. Can immigration deny your citizenship because you and your spouse live in different places? Yes, they can absolutely deny your application if you are applying for citizenship based on continuous marriage with your spouse, because you have to show that you're living in marital union continuously. So they can definitely deny you for that reason. If I applied for VAWA and USCIS send one of the receipt as a military applicant and not under VAWA, what do you recommend or advise? You definitely want to reach out to USCIS and let them know that there was an error in your receipt so that they can amend the receipt and send you a corrected receipt. Okay. Let me see what questions on YouTube. Christofina says, my husband is a permanent resident, filed for the kids in 2018, got approved in May of 2023, got the approval letter in the mail, but never heard from NVC. They're over 21. When do you think they will get the visa? So before they can get the visa, you actually have to fill out your NVC application. And if they're over 21, I don't know how old they are. And when your husband filed for them, and if that's his biological children versus a stepchild, because you have to wait for visas to be available. And typically the NVC will not be available to them until closer to then. And then that's when they can fill out the application. And then once they fill out the application and the National Visa Center is satisfied, then they'll get in queue to be interviewed. And that could take that can still take several years depending on how old they are. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see. My friend, good morning. Abhishek says, good morning. My friend and his girlfriend made a baby during their relationship. She's a U.S. citizen, but now things are not going well. Can you tell me something? There's nothing, they can do. In order for, them to be eligible for VAWA, they have to have been married. So even though they have a baby together, if they're not married, then they're not eligible, for that, unfortunately. Okay. Okay, let's see. What makes you eligible for an interview bypass? I don't know. I truly don't know what makes you eligible. it's different for everyone, and only USCIS officers know why they do that. And some officers, honestly, there are cases where we see where, they have like 2 kids together, they've been married for like 5 years, they have a house together, and then they call them for an interview, and it's ridiculous. Or like we had one with a VAWA case where the mother had already been approved, and then we added the children. The children are like 7 and 12, and it was ridiculous. And USCIS officer called them for an interview, and I remember being in an interview like, well, what are you going to ask them? They're like 7 and 12, and all he was asking them was like who their dad was and like what school they went to. So it's really hard to say, who gets an interview or who doesn't get an interview. But the key thing is, guys, even if you get an interview, just be prepared. Like if you're prepared, then, hopefully your interview will go well, and make sure that you remember what you wrote in your form I-485. It's very important, that you always have a copy of everything that you submit to USCIS. If you work with a lawyer, make sure that the lawyer is giving you a copy of what it is that you've submitted. If you're filing it by yourself, which you shouldn't, but if you do, make sure that you have a copy so that when interview time comes back, you can always cross-check and make sure, are there any information that needs to be updated with USCIS? Is there any error that was made? Sometimes people come to us, and say, oh, I have an interview, can we hire you like to prep us for the interview, and get us ready for the interview, attend the interview. And then you're like, okay, well, where's your form 485? Let's see it, and then they don't have a copy. So we can't even see what's wrong with the application or anything like that. So just try to keep a copy of whatever it is that you're sending to, USCIS, okay? All right, let's see what else we have here. After the I-360 is approved, does the I-485 processing time start from 0, or can it be approved quicker if an interview had already been scheduled when previously adjusting status with spouse? So you're talking about if you have a VAWA abeyance. I just answered this question earlier, but the same is applicable. Basically they can still bypass you, or they can schedule you for an interview. Most of the time, expect like 6 months from approval. Sometimes it's earlier, but expect there, so that if it doesn't come in a month or 2, you're not panicking thinking, oh my gosh, they've not scheduled me. Okay. I got a 2-year advance parole under a VAWA case, but it's almost expired in November. What do you think I can do? So this is a really good time right now to apply for a new advance parole. You can renew it with your EAD simultaneously. Your EAD is your work permit. It's always a good idea to submit your application for renewals about 6 months, 180 days before the expiration date, just because it takes a long time. So the earlier you submit it, the better. John says, can volunteering help immigration case in VAWA? Volunteering can be used to show good moral character. So if, let's say, your good moral character, you haven't been in the U.S. for like 3 years, which is the requirement for VAWA, where you want to show good moral character for 3 years. One of the things that you can do is you can show, affidavits or letters from, church, society, community, anything that you're volunteering. In those cases, it can definitely help you. Okay. Superstar says, can I collect food stamps for my U.S. citizen kids while awaiting VAWA approval? Yes, you're not penalized for that while your case is pending, and your U.S. citizen children are entitled to that benefit as U.S. citizens. Okay, my wife is under DACA. She does not have the stamp of arrival. She's been here since she was 6 years old. We have a child, any advice and advance parole. So for those who don't understand, stamp of approval just means that she didn't enter the country with inspection, which is required to be able to adjust status. 444 Wolfman, I'm assuming that you're a U.S. citizen. In order for her to get advance parole, she has to have something going on in her home country, or basically somewhere where she needs to go. Some things that have worked for our own clients is if there's a medical emergency, if they want to visit a family's grave, if their lineage is ending, basically stuff like that. Here's the thing, you won't know until you try. It's really not much to lose. Put in an advanced parole application. So certainly do an advanced parole application, and hopefully she gets approved. If she gets approved, then she can just go out and come back in. And then once she comes back in with inspection, then you can then file for her. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take like 2 more questions. Matrix says, when you get married to a green card holder, how do you cancel asylum case? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say you should cancel your asylum case unless you know that you have no chances with your asylum case. It also depends on if you have a defensive asylum case, meaning it's already in immigration court or it's with USCIS. Generally, when my clients have certain types of cases pending, I usually want to make sure that one route will work before we withdraw certain routes, or we're certain that one. It's hard to be certain because, anything could go wrong, but there are just some cases that the probability is more likely than not that this route is going to work. And then, once that's put in, then they can withdraw. So, asylum has so many variables. It depends on where you are in your asylum. I can't really give you any advice on canceling your case. Mo British says, can you file for VAWA if your partner threatens you about not putting in your paperwork? So the answer to that is that it depends. It depends on what is going on in your marriage. VAWA, for those who don't know, is when you can submit an application for a green card to immigration based on you being married to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder who is abusive to you. Abuse can occur in different ways. It's not always physical. Sometimes it can be psychological. It can be emotional. It can be abuse of the legal system. It could be abuse of technology. It could be sexual. It could be financial. So when you're submitting a VAWA application and thinking about a successful one, you have to look at the overall relationship. So in addition to them saying, I'm not going to put in your paperwork, you still want to be able to show other things going on. And typically, there are sometimes, more likely than not, other things going on if you're being threatened about something that's very important to you, because it means that there's already a power and control aspect to the relationship, and the person is wielding that power over you. So it's one of those things that I would recommend consulting with either myself, any of my associate attorneys, to screen you to see if you qualify. Our number is 407-995-6567. We'll be happy to screen you and see if you qualify, okay? Aurelia Santana says, you're the best law, then thank you for all. You're so welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Denise Rose says, good morning, my beautiful Attorney Ayesha. Guys, she's a queen of law. I love her to pieces. Thank you, Attorney Ayesha, for representing me and my son. We appreciate you. Heart of love from me to you and your team. Thank you so much. We're so happy when we have happy clients and we get the results for them. I know, like, this process sometimes is really ugly and it might not be pretty, because sometimes, clients might not understand why we say, give us this or give us that. But, I can't speak for anybody else, but I love to win, I was an athlete growing up. I used to run track. Like, I wanted to win every race. And it's the same way I look at immigration. Like, I want to win my cases. So, sometimes if we see a case and we're like, this case could be stronger, and we're like, get us this and get us that, just take it that we want you to win. And that's why we're doing it. So I'm always very happy when we get that desired outcome for our clients. Okay, guys, I really do have to jump off. If you have other questions, please schedule a consultation. I'll be happy to speak with you. My number is 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp message if you want us to call you, 404-333-8751. All right, guys, I hope you have an amazing week. Back to school. If those of you who have kids going back to school this week, this month, I pray for good health and safety, academic excellence for them all. My kids started school today as well. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye.